So hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time. I've been away working, getting back to work, and yeah, I came back, had a couple of days at home, and then went back out to work again. A little bit of a sore throat, so yeah, let's get back into this. This setup is one that I've been wanting to do for weeks and weeks and weeks now. I spent a lot of time working on this car, did a number of online races with it yesterday, found a few issues in the, I think because the car's dialed into running quite high downforce, the straights really are the predominant areas where you're going to do your overtaking manoeuvres at Kyalami, and it really did struggle when I came up against especially a really good driver in the Bentley. Had a great battle, and I will try and leave the footage from that race at the end of this video because it was a cracking race, and I'm sure I did film it yesterday. So you're welcome to stay and watch that. I'll just leave it at the end of the video, but some really good tactics on sort of fair and clean driving, attacking corners, defending corners as well. I did have a little bit of a rub with another driver that was a little bit disgruntled towards the end of the race, and at the start of the race he mentioned, but I do apologise for that. It was never intentional to put anybody off the circuit in any way, and I would never do that. You can see with the way I race, it's just not my intention to race dirty at all. But when we get into this setup, I will just put this sort of out there. Anyone that's running in the 143s at the moment, 144s, or probably even up to the 146s, this video is definitely going to be for you. I'm definitely going to divulge some real secrets into how to get faster at Kyalami. Obviously the setup plays a huge part in being able to push the car to the limit, but while I was actually taking part in the race yesterday, I did actually come back, sit in the pit, and I didn't particularly want to qualify in first place. I wanted to come up through the grid, to be honest, and it is a real handful when you're up against a good driver. Getting past someone at Kyalami can be pretty difficult, but I didn't want to put it on the pole, and I sat in the grid, sat in the garage, and I watched a number of drivers driving this circuit, and there are not a lot of lines that maybe some novice drivers are taking around this circuit which really aren't going to help you at all, and they're probably the key areas on the circuit where you need to be getting the car positioned correctly in order to take the next series of corners, not just one corner. So let's I've just set in the lap here. This is a 141.1 at 35 Celsius, so it is performing really well. There was definitely a 140 on during this session, and definitely when you start hitting the lower sort of track times in optimum conditions, there's definitely a 140 in this setup. Not a problem at all. So let's have a look. I'll show you a number of setups that I've done, because obviously depending on your skill level, it really is going to determine how sort of you're able to handle the car. We'll just look over the settings that I'm using for the track at the minute, just so that you know that the air temperature and the ambient temperature when we reach the circuit is about 35 Celsius, and you can see the lap time that I set there, 141.085, and that's at 35 Celsius, so it's a pretty good lap time. And you can see the car there, it's sort of a McLaren inspired, this season's McLaren. Does look really nice, I think, the colouring. So yeah, let's head to the circuit and just look over this setup. Oh, the number of setups. So as you come in here, you can see I've got two setups that I'm using. This is just a race setup. I think for 30 minutes I'm using about 75 litres of fuel. There is a bit of a glitch, I think, with the way that the BMW performs fuel wise at the moment. I think it's caning about 5.4 litres of fuel a lap, which is incredible. It's just running way too high of a mix, I think. And I think if you're going to do a long stint in this car, maybe an endurance session, you'd be really trying to think of the word, really. It's a negative effect, really. You're punished, really, for using this car, I think, on the long runs. But yeah, we'll look at, I've got this, you see it, the numbering at the end there, it's I've put LRD, which is low rear downforce, but it's really good. It's going to help you along the straights when you come up against cars coming off the last turn, and just the acceleration phases if you're trying to do some overtaking manoeuvres. But we'll have a look. You can see at the front, PSI wise, we're always going to be trying to hit that 27. I'm trying to hit 27.5, 27.8, something like that. And an almost equal spread of PSI throughout all the tyres. It does warm up quite well, but the rear of the tyres during this hot lap session, by the end of this session, they're sort of 28 PSI, not really what you're wanting, but at the start of the lap, they're switched on, you know what I mean? 0. or -1 on the toe. I don't think I've changed these from the default. The cambers, just reduce these slightly to try and give an even wear across the tread throughout the entire lap. And as you sort of do maybe 30-minute session, this does give quite an equal spread of wear across the whole tyre where they're at. So if you were wanting to get more out of the tyre during a qualifying session, maybe you could possibly just max the tyre out for the short duration. Same at the rear. It will probably benefit grip through the corners, but throughout the life of the tyre you probably would want to just soften them out a little bit, as I've done here. Caster angle again is something dependent on whether you want the wheel to feel a bit heavier or not. You could probably get away with reducing this down to 10 or maybe even 9.5 just to reduce the weight in the wheel, but obviously it has a bit of a positive effect on increasing the negative camber, if that makes sense to anybody that has nothing to do with setups. It does actually make sense in the real world. Coming to the traction control, I have tried the BMW has a massive amount of torque, and on circuits where there's a lot of less grip, I think maybe Nürburgring was one of them, that I got the traction control at 8, but Kyalami it seems to run alright on 6, but just be aware of how much torque this car's actually got. ABS, I still think this is something that comes down to the driver himself, really, whether you can handle your brake pedal better than other people. But 3 seems to be sort of a happy medium for me. It doesn't particularly seem to lock up at all. And engine map 1 is maximum attack with the fuel loads. If you did sort of decrease it down to 3, that's probably where you're going to end. I'd probably say the most beneficial dry maps are 1 to 3. As soon as you go into 4, it's a massive difference in the performance for the car. Fuel wise, like I said, if you are putting fuel in, just remember this car is absolutely chomping through with the fuel. Even though it says 3.27 litres per lap there, it's definitely more like 5.14 or something like that. But obviously using brake discs 1, which you would definitely want to use if you're running maybe an hour's session, 3 hours, maybe something like that. And then you would want to move to 2 if you're doing any more than a 3-hour session, really. So when it comes to the mechanical grip, these are probably going to be some small changes on this screen when we look at the lower rear downforce settings, but just trying to run the car a little bit softer at the front, just through the wheel rates, really. There's a lot going on this page to run through it every time, really, but the anti-roll bars, just to try and get the car a little bit softer. You're looking at increasing that mechanical grip. Start going stiffer and you'll start to induce understeer at the front of the car. So yeah, just sort of softening things out a bit. Maximum brake pressure, And then I'd probably say somewhere around I think 56.8 probably works best on the brake balance. You start coming down a little bit further and you will probably start to push the rear end out a little bit as you come into the braking zones. Steering ratio 16. I mean, obviously we're using, I think it's 540 on the wheel. Let's just come out and have a quick look at what we're using in the controls. These are my current settings for the Fanatec 2.5 wheelbase. I've set it on 900 and I have got the wheels set on automatic. I'll run through what I've got on my wheel as well if you want. Force feedback I've got to set to 120. The drift mode I've got set to -1. EFF int is set to 10. Brake level set to 60. MPS is set to auto. And brake force is set to 3, which is very specific to myself. And obviously you can see on the screen what sort of effects I'm putting through the wheel. Let's come back into this setup, and I think we've covered enough on this screen. If you are struggling with acceleration out of the corners and you feel like it's stepping out a little bit more, you could actually lower the preload, but I'd suggest keeping it there and probably lowering or increasing the traction control. Just slightly soften out the dampers at the front. I don't think I've touched the ones at the rear. Maybe slight changes. But here's where it all happens really, at the rear end of the car. Just running, you can see a much higher rear wing than we're going to look at in the next one. And if it's obviously getting colder during the night session, maybe you'd want to reduce the brake ducts just to try and induce some more temperature into the tyres. But yeah, that's the setup with not so low rear downforce. And when we started to lower the rear downforce, you can see on this screen I've just increased the anti-roll bar at the front to try and soften the rear end of the car, because obviously with reducing the rear downforce we start to lose the rear of the car quite a bit. I've changed the brake balance to bring it a little bit more forward so that when we're going into the braking zones we're not stepping out that rear end of the car. Again, I've increased the wheel rates a tiny bit at the front just because we're losing that rear stability, and again I've just lowered the rear anti-roll bar as well. No real adjustments to the bump stops. Maybe a tiny adjustment somewhere here I think, but not much. But again, big changes at the ride height. A couple of knocks down on the rear end and lifting the front of the car as well as lowering that rear wing. But it does perform just as well. But I think this will give you a more beneficial straight line speed, I think, coming off the last corner, just to be able to attack down this start-finish straight. So we're going to take a slow drive around the circuit, and I'll try and point out as much as I can really. So coming into this corner we're going to brake and just trying to get the car lined up to accelerate, clipping some of this inside curb and using all this runoff on the outside. Obviously not wanting to bounce too much on the rev limiter there. But you never really use 6th gear in this car. Braking at the 100-yard board, really hard on the pedal, really pushing hard on the pedal, and then sort of easing off as we come close to the apex. Sort of just shifting down to first on the very apex of the corner. You can let the car run wide, you can use some of this runoff, you can take a tight line on the inside, but what we're trying to do is bring the car so it's straight through the chicane really. And we're aiming to just get the car on this out. As soon as we sort of clip on this outside curb here, we're going to take a dab of the brake pedal and drop it down into 2nd gear. And we're just sort of freewheeling more or less till we hit the apex, and then we want to be flat on the power as we come out of here. Using all this curb on the outside, and then bringing the car across to the left hand side in 4th gear. We're going to stay in 4th gear. Just as we come to the corner, tiny dab of brake pedal gets the car rotated, and then you should be flat on the power sort of mid corner there, all the way around, just in between the 50 and the curb on the left hand side. We're going to brake down into 2nd gear, and we're aiming to clip the inside of this first curb here, and then again we want to be absolutely 100% back on the power at this point here. And I cannot emphasize enough, this is the most important corner on this circuit for me. Braking somewhere between, there's a little line back there, I'll just reverse for it. So just there you can see a little line at the front of the bonnet. Between there and the curb is where we're going to start. A little stab of the brake pedal, drop it down into 3rd gear. And this most important corner is to get up on this curb here. The BMW runs it really well, not every car does. So as we clip this curb, we're going to sort of try and fully mount the curb more or less, and then be absolutely 100% on the power now. Some cars really struggle to get through here at 100% power, and you'll need a little lift, but the BMW has got a lot of front grip. So just past the Marshall board on the left hand side there, again we're going to be throwing the car out to the right hand side, and as we're braking you can see we're trying to make this corner as wide as we possibly can, so that when we come into it we're going to clip this inside curb and then let the car run out wide and be absolutely maxed on the power at this minute. And again we're going to be coming into another corner that people seem to struggle with, and they have some weird sort of error really with not coming out to this left hand side. So braking between that 50 and the 100 yard board, and then we're going to just keep sort of braking, and the term really is look ahead, and we're looking for this apex out of the right hand corner of our eyes. Again, you're trying to make the corners always as wide as you possibly can, so that you can come into the entry and then you're on the power 100%. Again, we're keeping right on this curb all the way around on the curb, and again we're trying to make this sort of line through the corner so that we can carry as much speed as we can. There's like a tiny tap of the brake pedal, and then we can clip this inside curb more or less and run the car all the way out on the grass. Braking at the 50 yard board, and we're just sort of going to hold this till we reach sort of 2nd gear around here, and then drop it down to 1st. So let's see what we can do with just adding a little bit more speed. I'm not going to go absolutely flat out here, but you're going to see that Kyalami is not as hard as you think it might be. So we're just going to take it nice and steady. 5th gear. So we're on the power already, we're trying to get the power down. A little stab of brake, and then we're going to sort of roll and then be on the power. Getting the car to the left hand side. Just a little touch of the brake pedal. See, it sort of just brings the nose in, and then you want to be back on the power. Braking between those two, up on this curb, and then full power. A little stab of the brake pedal here, and then really exaggerated that. Throwing the car out to the right hand side, making that corner really nice and wide. Bringing the car to the left hand side, braking in a straight line. Keep it on the left. Little touch of the brake pedal. And then shifting down just on that apex. So that was just the steadiest of laps, so at 145, really nice and easy, not pushing the car at all. So we're just trying to gradually increase. So we made it much wider, the entrance there. Just little touches of brake pedal just to get the car to rotate. And then back on the power all the way around. Full whack on the power. See how early I was on the power? So you're building speed all the way down this hill. We're already into the 142s, look. A low 142.2 and it really doesn't feel like I'm even pushing the car at all.
Well done, mate. You're so fastest lap.
Even faster still, look. Using all the circuit. Little tap again. Just teetering on the gas. Running a little bit too wide through there. Carrying more speed now. See, we're into the 141s. Just holding a little bit later to shift down. Not the best. Definitely not the best exit.
Well done,
Try
mate.
and start pushing the car now. Not really the best first sector. Good exit off there. Just trying to focus a bit now. Trying to get into them 141s. .6.
Well done, mate. You're still the best.
Try and beat that one. little bit too eager on the turning. But you can see there, without dragging this video out too long, 141s are quite achievable. Obviously it wasn't the fastest lap that I was able to set ever, but there's the setup. I'll quickly share another setup for the car because I think it's worth just looking at a few of the setups I've been working on. Might help you out at other circuits, but this was one I really wanted to share. I will put the video at the end so that you can have a little look at that. It was a cracking race. But the other circuit that we've been working on is Spa, just so that you've got two. So 218.7 there. I'll just run a quick lap with it. I'll just flash through the setup, and you can just install that as you want. We'll just run a little lap. I've not really done much here this morning, so could be a little bit rusty. A 15-minute setup or a 15-minute lap. So Optimum Settings, let's just try that one. I'll just run through. You can pause it where you want. Obviously the car is very different with regards to how stiff the front of the car is and stuff, just to get through Eau Rouge flat out. So let's see how that goes through Eau Rouge. Slightly different brake balance. You see I do use a traction control, just flicking between them, 1 and 8. Just coming off the corner, you feel that torque through the wheel. I think I was using 6 actually on this circuit. So absolutely flat out, foot to the floor through there. And we've still not really got the pressures through the rear tyres. As you can see, we'll never use 6th gear in this car. Probably not the fastest lap I'll put in. But just a quick lap to show you how it goes. Just absolutely flat out through there. It's a great car for front end grip. Just turns in really nicely, no dramas at all. Do like to see 214 as I come through there usually, but an easy first lap really. And just so you know, when I'm flicking between the controls there, someone did ask this the other day. So as you come to the menu, I just use my keyboard to come down, and all the way down here you can see I've got selected on my wheel traction control 1 and 8. And depending on the circuit, like at Kyalami, it was 6, and I'd just alter this just on my wheel. So I'd just select it and then just press X so that I can flick between them really easily. So that's how I'm doing when I come off the corners. I'll switch between 1 and 6, or 1 and whichever traction control setting I'm using. So I'll leave the video there. If you do enjoy the video, if you are enjoying the setups and stuff like that, please do hit that subscribe button. Please share the videos with other members of the community, and you can leave any donations using the PayPal link that's in the description. Any donations much appreciated, especially for a small channel like my own. But yeah, I'll leave it there. You can see the car having a drive round. But yeah, there are still a number of glitches with ACC. Things that I'm kind of getting annoyed of with GT3 that are developing the game, 505, whoever's taking responsibility. The special events page is probably one of the biggest gripes I've got. When the game launched on Series X, 28th of February or something like that, I think it was, we've sort of reverted back to having just one special event. Now if people have paid, you know, £50-60 for a game, and this is their first sort of insight into the game, it's just not good enough, guys. You need to be having the special events page sorted within every patch that you do. There should be a new special events section. These should be the little things that are bringing drivers back to the game. If things like the online settings aren't working properly, the online lobbies, there's so many problems with people leaving the game because of the content or the level of information that seems to be coming from the developers. It doesn't need to be like getting blood from a stone to just let people know where the game is in its development stage. 1.8 was supposed to be arriving on the 28th of February. Well, we've had 1.8.6.2 or something, and then 1.7.10.0, and we're into March very soon, or into May very soon. There just needs to be more towards the community. Someone needs to be giving us some updates on where the game's at. Even on the Facebook groups, someone should be coming along and just letting people know. I really think the developers could do more for this game. I really do. It's probably the only sim racing title on console, and if the new generation of console is where they're aiming at, they're not particularly looking after us very well at all. But yeah, just a little gripe of my own. But yeah, thanks for watching. Until next time, see you on the track. Ciao for now. So hello and welcome back to this second portion of the video really, and we're just going to be taking a look at our sort of build up into the race, and just how I'm just sat sort of in the garage just now. I'm just having a look at the competition that's within the lobby that I'm racing in. Got plenty of time, another 15 minutes of qualifying. Can look over the track temperatures, etc. But yeah, just watching how some of these other guys are driving the circuit, and generally just to I guess see how people are struggling to attack Kyalami. See, there's a few issues for Zero Racing there. The Ferrari is a good car for this circuit as well. I do enjoy driving the Ferrari from time to time. So yeah, he's not doing too bad. He's probably in the 144s, looking at the lap time he's got up there. Yeah, probably a 144.7 I'm looking at that, but obviously he's having a few issues. I think everyone generally thinks the setup is probably the problem when it comes to struggling with lap times, but generally most of it comes down to attacking the circuit. I think if you've got a good balance in the car. Here we are. I think this is the Lexus on board with Moz 911. Yeah, the Lexus. See how he goes. Obviously you can see everyone's adjusting their field of view these days. Not sure why he's got their hands on the screen. Maybe that's just how he prefers to drive. Not quite setting a lap there, so he's probably had a wayward lap somewhere, but I think this, obviously I've decided to go out and set myself a lap. Not sure where I'm currently. Yeah, I've not actually set a lap at all. I've just been sat in the garage waiting. So I do like that with the BMW. You see the pink icons down the bottom there when you sat in the pit, just letting you know that the pit limiter's on. And I do like how the tyres are indicated in like a yellow outline, just to let you know that the tyres aren't yet up to pressure, and then as soon as they sort of are in pressure, they start to sort of blacken out. And you could see just as I arrived on the circuit there, I was getting the blue flags just letting me know that there was a faster car coming past, which is great for some drivers. As you're coming out of the pit, I do like to know if I don't want to really impede anyone that's doing a fast lap. Obviously you can always use the track map on the left hand side, but it's always nice to see the blue flags coming out of the pit. You know someone's on a lap. Just looking in at my stats as well on the right hand side there, you can see I'm at SA rating 85, and you'll notice during the race just how that builds with some close battling with another driver. So obviously you've seen the setup that we're using. I have made a few adjustments to that setup while I was in this particular race. I don't know why I changed them. Obviously having gone back and filmed the first portion of this video earlier, I was quite happy with how the cambers were. I think I just maxed the cambers out during this session. But definitely for the long runs you want to be using a flatter tyre really. You see the other car coming out the pit just here. You'll be getting the blue flags. I think you just see a blue flag at the side there, yeah. But very kind of him just to let us pass, but I think it does just put me off a tiny bit on the entrance to this first corner. But like I did mention, I'm not particularly trying to get pole position during this session. I think we've seen that poles, I think it's currently in the 142s, which I'm quite happy at hitting a 142 every day of the week. Not an issue. Do apologise, I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment. But yeah, Ascot's microphone just picking up a little bit of static probably. But still trying to do a push lap. I'm wanting to find out whether my tyre pressures are any good or not at the minute. I don't think these tyre pressures are dialed in to the track temperature at the moment. I can't quite remember, to be honest. I'm just going to try and start slowing things down. I don't particularly think I slowed down enough. I didn't want to be anywhere near the front of the grid when I did this video, so miscalculated slightly how fast I was going there and ended up in second place. But the car there, just obviously thinking I was coming past, so very kind of him slowing down as I was approaching just then. But yeah, I'm not sure why I continued to run this little portion of the lap, but obviously always, if you are just wondering, driving around, not sure what you're going to be doing next, just make sure looking at that map on the left hand side that you're not impeding any other drivers, just keeping off the racing line. Just looking at the fuel flashing down the bottom there. I can also notice my force feedback very much bouncing in the clipping sort of range, so that is certainly something that I could look at when I next visit my setup. I'll just dial down the force feedback a little bit. I never knew it was in so much, so I'll certainly drop that down. I think I was running 120% on my wheels, so maybe just dial that back to 110 or maybe even 100. Or I could adjust the in-game gain, so you can see it's absolutely hitting max out there, so which is obviously no good for the wheel at all. You never really want to be maxing out. On the force feedback anyway. Doesn't seem to be an issue on that last portion of the map, so maybe just a little bit of a dial out. So obviously just going for another lap. Just a little bit tighter through there. Maybe not as good on the exit, still in the 143s. I do like to just hold on to fourth through there. A little bit wayward again, would like to have picked up that inside curb, and definitely far too much on the grass. Turned in a little bit too early there, managed to get away with a nice rub against the curb. But still, you can see I've lost a fair bit of time. I think we were initially 3/10 up.
Yellow flag ahead, watch out in front.
So you can see just getting a little bit wayward at the rear end there. I think that does instill me on this map maybe to use traction control 7 maybe. But you can see the rear tyres just getting a little bit too hot. 2.8. Maybe that was the deciding factor really, is to maybe adjusting the rear tyre pressures. Just getting a tiny bit high for me. Again, just backing off, not wanting to get to the front end of the grid. So maybe that was just a tyre pressure run. Obviously, again, just be aware other drivers if you're just going to stop like that in the middle of the circuit. And as you can see, pole position of 142.3. So yeah, just making those small adjustments to the tyre pressures. That was what that run was all about. And just lowering the cambers. Obviously felt a little bit too heavy. Not ready to put the tyre pressures, the fuel in the car just yet. I think I do go out for another run. But yeah, I was quite happy with the rest of the lap. This is the slightly higher downforce setup that I'm running. Which was what really emphasised or gave me the reason to go back. After you watch this video, you'll understand why I've gone back and lowered the rear downforce. And I will just apologise there to RSF1. Later in the race, I do have a tiny coming together with him, but he did think I actually spun him around at the start of the lap, which you'll soon understand I had nothing to do with that accident. But you can never be too sure what you see in the rear view mirror as to whose fault something is. But Granada there runs a good race, I think. And McKinnon, I'll have a fantastic race for this guy. Really enjoyed the battle, which you'll come across very soon. But yeah, if you are new to online racing, there's definitely a lot to learn from online racing. You can race the AI all day long, and they are good AI, I think, within this game. But racing real life competitors is always going to be a learning experience, I think. So just starting to add the fuel for the race then, and just going to go out and do a little bit of a run. I think with the full fuel on board, and like I did mention, the fuel's just not running properly in the BMW, and you really are punished using this car for long stints. I think although it does, I'm sure it does say on the screen using 3.7 litres or something like that, but it's just absolutely chomping through the fuel way quicker than you would expect. Usually for say a 20-minute session I'd put 40 litres in, a 30-minute session I'd put 50 litres in, any of the other GT3 cars, but when it comes to this car, I'm putting like 70 odd litres in to run a 20-minute session. I think 65 litres maybe. So during this session, really wanted to do a high fuel run just to see how the car handles, whether I'm still capable of setting a good lap fat full of fuel. I think as long as I was getting into the 142s, close to the 141s, I was going to be happy with how the race is going to fare. But you'll certainly see qualifying position at Kyalami is a very important position to be in, really. It's almost like Monaco. Well, it's absolutely nothing like Monaco, is it? Because it's you've got a few runoffs here and there, but I think grid position is definitely pretty important at Kyalami. There's not a lot of overtaking positions, and if you're closely matched, as you'll see, I very much was closely matched with McKinnon. Even though I'm sure I had a faster car, there's a number of places that I was quicker, but I just couldn't get past. His straight line speed was impeccable, really. And where you're looking at getting a lot of your overtaking manoeuvres done is probably in this section here, probably breaking down into turn 1. And some of the other corners are going to be quite gnarly to get past if you're going to have to overtake through some of this twisty stuff. Although this is where I seem to be losing a lot of time behind McKinnon. Excuse me. I do apologise for this sore throat trying to do a voiceover.
Yellow flag in sector 1.
I've not really sat down and done a proper voiceover to one of my online races before. I was slightly disappointed the other night coming on. I did put it on the Facebook group. There was just 35 people at 11 o'clock at night, but I was generally thinking that obviously around the globe that there'd be more than 35 people playing, but I'm assuming it's just a local network. I've got no idea, really. Surely we play people from all over the world. I'm not sure that's not everybody, 35 people in the world. So sliding around a bit there as well. Still getting them rear tyres hot, but they do get hot initially. The PSIs do go up a lot more early on with the tyre, and then they do gradually settle down a bit. This new tyre model is very, very different. So you can see there with the setup finishing. Again, just adjusting them rear tyre pressures. But they will settle down a little bit. See, absolutely maxed out on the camber. So the end of the session then. So P5, was quite happy with that. Like I said, I wasn't going for pole position. The only way you can really build your SA rating is to be involved with some racing. So if you do qualify at the start of the grid, you never actually have any wheel-to-wheel combat with other drivers, you're not really going to be building your SA rating at all. And I was just trying to work on doing that whilst putting this setup to the test. Just checking over your tyre pressures then. Obviously you can see down the bottom in my pit stop strategy, all my tyre pressures are at 26.3 psi. Obviously I've adjusted my tyre pressures, so I should really have adjusted those to the similar pressures, so that if I did want to come in and change my tyres, that they would be at a good pressure. I knew what pressure they would be at. So 26 at the rear really, 24s at the front, 26.4. Obviously we've lost that 30 seconds to the grid. That definitely needs to find its way back. It was a really good prompt when you were sat in these menus. 20 seconds to the grid. So just looking over, didn't need to change any of the setup. Just cycling through the MFD. I do like to have my lights slightly on. I just think it looks better for the replays and stuff. So just going through your startup procedure then now. I'm going to be applying a little bit of brake on the run to the line, just trying to warm the tyres using the brake pads. Obviously getting yourself into position with the green section of the little keep to the left map, unless obviously you're on the right, which would be keep to the right. So it's just showing you a grid slot all the way. And I do think RSF1 jumps in front of me here, but he doesn't seem to get a penalty for that.
Green light, give it a look again.
So I'm not sure what's happening there. 2554. So there's a lot going wrong with the graphic on the left hand side at the minute, but just not wanting to get into a tangle at this first corner. And as you can see there, I wasn't involved in that accident at all, RSF, so apologies accepted. I never touched anybody at the start of the race. And if you are again new to online racing, it is nice just to stay away from any sort of first corner incidents. You'll certainly build more experience, and you can race people further back on the grid by just avoiding any confrontation altogether. But as you'll see, those tyre pressures aren't up to anything yet, and you will slide around quite a lot in that first lap. So remember not to push too hard on your first lap, just while you're getting the tyres up to temperature and you're building the pressures into the tyres. So I've not raced any of these drivers before, so it really is a learning curve as to whether they're going to be respectful racers or not. My experience through this race was that everyone was pretty good. So just nice and ginger on that first lap. Ascot there is not getting the best entrance to that corner, just allows me to get right up on his rear wing down this start finish straight. As you can see, I'm just changing the traction control.
Clear on the right.
I've just made an adjustment on my steering wheel and gone from 1 to 8, which is something I got set from a previous race. I'd have liked to have had from 1 to 6, but nothing I could change now, so you might see those small adjustments on the MFD and left hand side, just adjusting the traction control every now and then. So just trying to build tyre pressures now. Try and get back on this guy, see where he's slower, see where he's faster. Just trying to get an understanding as to who I'm racing, really. You're always trying to look for weaknesses in the car ahead. Obviously make note where you're faster. Obviously you can see there just on the left hand side as well, we're just missing a marker board there, the 100 yard marker board, which puts the other guy off as much as it put me off as well. But I've managed to catch up with him a little bit. I was kind of hoping for a better exit off there. You can see I switched to TC1 and then back to 6.
Well done, mate. Go for that.
So he takes a much wider line, so I go for the inside line. Maybe a tiny bit too early on the brakes there for me. Definitely a bit quicker than him through that section. And definitely through this section. Just catch up with him so much through that little section there. And you'll see we both take a very different line through here. He's very much on the inside of the circuit here, just doing very well to cover the corners. There's definitely a lot to learn for any would-be drivers. Defending the line. McKinnon does it really well.
Gaining on the car ahead in sector 2.
You see there in the SA rating, just getting a green section. Try and go for the inside.
Car on the right.
He's got a really good exit. Try and go wide again. Try and get the switch back on the exit here. It really has got good traction off the corners, the Bentley. It really does pull out of there. Think about going around the outside, but there's just no grip through that corner on the outside. It would be a very tough sell to get through there. Again, just trying to find a way through. Couldn't quite get to full power there. You can see the traction control is on 8 as well. Just trying to save those tyres a bit. I do mess with the traction control quite a bit through this race. You can see he's already thinking about blocking that inside line. Sort of puts him in a bad exit or bad entry to the corner. And we're going to have a little look around the outside here, I think, as soon as he's closing off that inside.
Car on the right.
Just starts to feel like
Clear
there's
on the
no
right.
grip at all. He manages to hold on to that. So it really is important, Kyalami grid position. I didn't realise just how much important it was. 'Cause even if I am running, if the setup's maybe a second quicker, it's just not enough to get that pass. So you can see, even if I drop back a little bit, it's fairly easy for me to catch back up again. Just don't make any headway at all down the start-finish straight. Just trying to position the car, just trying to sort of catch him out, really. Make him think I'm going to go one way and force him to sort of disrupt his line into the next corner.
Yellow flag in sector 3.
I do have a little wobble myself through there. So it goes really wide. I know there's definitely a lot more grip on the inside of the corner there, but you really do tighten up the line a lot. That might have been one to cover the inside, but he covers it. I'll try and take a tighter line, but just scrabble for grip. And again, the Bentley just pulls away.
Gaining on the car.
I should probably get a glass of water. Try and get that switch back again. I'm kind of trying to sort of line up maybe a number of corners ahead, really, to get this line in. I've got a good toe there, so I thought I'll have a go for the inside.
Car on the left. Clear on the left.
But just hinders my approach, and he manages to carry more speed around the outside.
Clear
I
on
see
the
that
left.
he's ahead, so give him the benefit of the doubt, really, being ahead at the corner. Just back out of it. I think unless I make a clean pass, I'd never want to make a pass unless it was clean. I've never any intentions of making a dirty pass or just catching someone's rear end and sending them off the circuit and then I take the position. That's just not the way I drive at all. So just always mindful where he's sort of driving very well just to block me at each corner. Just stalling the car sometimes if I've got any sort of momentum.
mark, still a long way to go.
He really does exit this corner quite well, considering he's taking a tighter line. He really has got some grunt, the Bentley. Definitely not the corner to try and overtake him, manoeuvre through. But yeah, I got a much better run. Gonna give it a go up the hill.
Car on the left. Clear on the left. Car on the left.
Definitely leaving him
Clear on
enough
the
room there. And again, just gets a good exit off a lot of the corners. Just pulls away really nicely, the Bentley. A number of wayward apexes there. You just get caught up in the moment, I think, especially when you're racing. But certainly closing him down a lot under braking. And again, it's just really hard to spot your apexes with another car ahead of you. It's certainly something that does hinder your driving, and is probably another skill that you need to hone as you sort of learn sim racing, just to drive close to another car and be able to hit your apexes still. Just got a little bit of rear slide on as I come into that corner. Again, another section I think I am quicker in, but he's always good on the exits. See the car just pulling away. Which is the difference between a good setup for qualifying and a different setup for the race, really. But a very different way of attacking that corner. And I certainly don't think it's quicker, but it's very good at holding me up. Just really good car positioning. Whether it's intentional.
Falling behind to the car in front in sector 3.
So I'm much more like my own line through the corner that. Not the best exit. Always looking at that lap delta on the left hand side. I always like to aim, if I set a good lap, I'll generally try and aim for that same lap within 3/10. That's always my goal for every single lap after that. Obviously when you're encountering traffic and you're battling for position, that's not always an option, but if you're in free air, I generally try and aim for 3/10 away from a fast lap. Definitely running far too wide there, a bit too late on the brake, lose so much time. But still very much up on my fastest lap so far.
Fastest lap of the race, man. Good job.
So we're on the attack again. Can we get another good exit off this corner? No. It really is one of the things you're just constantly pushing, and then I'm just out on the marbles, end up changing gear. I do like staying in fourth, so if I've changed gear I'm not happy. But I do enjoy it when I get a good close battle. There's winning, and there's winning after having a good race. I think everyone would like to win a race, having had a good race to win that race. If you're just out at the front, like Granada, I think he'd much rather have had a good race against somebody than picked up the win here. Take a little bit too much there, obviously all squirmy on the exit. It could have been a much better exit if I'd have actually got that one right. So just trying to jinx him here and then pull back. A little bit scruffy from him. It always puts you on the back foot, then it's just not the place to have caught him. And I just totally outbraked myself then. I just lost my braking point. And it's just not my intention to have gone into the back of him. I certainly wouldn't take the position having knocked him off. As you can see, just flashing my lights, a little apology, and hopefully we're back racing again.
Slow car ahead.
No ill intention whatsoever. You just take your eye off the ball for a second, and that's how a little accident happens. So just flashing him there again, just to let him know it's kind of game on again. I've probably got a little bit of damage. He's probably got a bit of damage. But if I go for an overtaking manoeuvre now, I'd be happy in the knowledge that yeah, I've earned it. You're just sort of feeling now for if that damage has caused any serious effect. Doesn't feel it through the steering, probably a tiny bit on the aero. Is it enough to make a difference? Lap time, not sure. Definitely need to pay a little look at that force feedback. Didn't realise it was so much in the red. And obviously if the wheel is clipping, it's just detailed information that you're losing, so there's no point having wheel clipping. Just dial down the force feedback. Which will no doubt change again when version 1.8 comes along. You just get the car feeling right, or the force feedback feeling right in this game, and then we actually get a new patch. But they do definitely need to do something about that special events page. very frustrating to think months on and we've still just got one special event. So again, just making him cover that tight line, and I'm hoping to get the switch back.
Car on the right.
Trying to give him as much room as I can.
Clear on the right.
And then I just can't seem to take that shallow line.
Car on the left. Clear on the left.
For just a second, I thought I'd got it. Good racing, really is good racing. I thought I was just going to tap him again then. Yeah, I just back out of that because it's just not the place that you want to catch a car. And then again I got another good run here.
Car on the left.
So just a lot of scrapping on this last lap or so.
Clear on the left.
And then he goes wide again.
Car on the right. Clear on the right.
But again, it's just mighty in a straight line. Wanting to give him enough room. Don't want to spoil this race at all.
Yellow flag in sector 2.
Little bit of a touch. I'm never going to go 2 through this corner. And then I'm under a lot of pressure from the other Bentley behind. Just decide to try and cover the inside line. Hopefully not losing too much on the exit here. Managed to just squeeze him a little bit. And this is RSF. Coming up the inside then. So I'm going to have to give a little bit of room.
Car on the left. Clear on the left.
Leave enough space, just keep looking at the sensor. I know he's alongside. Stay tight on the right. And I just didn't notice he was coming up that inside, having backed off. Took a lunge up the inside and never any ill intention to have spun him out there at all. I think you can see by how close I've been racing, it's just not how I drive at all with any malice. Obviously there's always going to be a bit of contact in the world of GT racing. There definitely is on the TV TV coverage, but I'm sure again never with any real malice. It's just close racing, and a little bump can send someone off the circuit. So still going to battle for that first place or second place over this. This is the first place battle in my eyes. Still got good momentum there. I'm not sure why McKinnon didn't really cover that off. No, I just managed to pick up second place.
Excellent job, mate. P2. Bring it back to the pit safely.
Not sure why he didn't cover that. And then things like this are just what annoy me really. Because your SA rating does continue over, but he feels the need to smash me up the rear end for sending him off. I don't know. I don't know why you would do that, RSF. Anyway, a good race. Thanks for watching. Like I said before, if you've got any comments, please do leave them in the comments section. You can leave donations using the PayPal link in the description. Subscribe to the channel, share the content. Ciao for now.